Boy X, page 236. There's 1 hour and 26 minutes until shutdown. This way. Isabel took off at a sprint, racing around the right side of the building. Ash followed close behind. They passed beneath a crumbling balcony, heading toward an ornate stone railing built right into the edge of the crag. On the other side of the railing, excuse me, the cliff fell away into a sheer drop to the beach, more than 300 feet below. It would be easy to tumble and fall over to a messy death. They followed the railing around the building until they came to a break in the barrier. Apart from the road, this is the only way down, Isabel said. My God, you've got to be joking. That's it? The black steps were a little more than half a foot wide, carved into the cliff face, zigzagging down to the beach. There were metal posts buried in the rock at regular intervals, with wire strung between them to form a flimsy handrail. Even when it was first built, it would have been dangerous, but right now, it was a death trap. Some steps were broken away while the rest were coated in slippery moss, and to make matters worse, the railings had come loose, so the wires hung limp with from their securings. Ash summoned all of his courage and settled down close to the edge, but it was like looking into a void, and his vision began to swim. He felt woozy and his stomach lurched. If he fell down there we go, he would bounce off the rocks like a water-filled balloon, smashing from crag to crag until he finally landed dead in the black sand. The world spun around and Ash stumbled forward, a foot slipping on the loose rocks. For a second, he teetered over the brink of the void. Then he felt Isabel grab the back of his shirt and pull him away. You okay? Ash nodded and rubbed his face. No one's getting down that way. Then what do we do? Isabel's voice rose. If we use the road, they'll catch us or shoot us. I'm sorry. We shouldn't have come to the steps. I thought... Ash looked at the loose wires hanging from the railings, then down at the beach below. The boat was so close. He stared at it for a moment, wishing there was some way of getting down there quickly, some way to... He jerked his head around and looked up at the tower to his left. There, he said. Maybe there's another way. Ash put his shoulder to the heavy front door and pushed it open on moaning, rusted hinges. A damp smell oozed out, accompanied by a flutter of disturbed wildlife and a long, low creak from the heart of the building. Just put it down. I'll get it in a minute. Sorry about that. Ash hurried in, aware of the ghost that had haunted him. The white and gold house, the monster with the needle-like fangs. He had been in this place a long time ago, when he was a different person. His feet had touched these floors. Images swam in his memory, overlaying the mansion as it was now with images of how it had been. Just being there made his stomach cramp. But he had faced Pierce. This place held no power over him. I am Ash McCarthy. I am strong. I can do this. He ran across the main hallway, a huge space with a high ceiling and a wide central staircase that split halfway up and swept around to either side of the first floor. The balustrade was flaked with peeling gold paint. The steps were covered in carpet that was once scarlet and plush, but was now threadbare and grime-coated. Damp had eaten through the ornate ceiling, so that rotten beams and plaster hung from holes as if the building was spilling its guts. The walls were a mess of peeling wallpaper and huge patches of mold, and corners of the room were thick with bird droppings. Ugh. We need to get to the tower. Ash started up the stairs, wondering if maybe this was a bad idea, but they had only a few more minutes before Kane caught up to them. At the top of the stairs, the landing stretched in both directions, with windows all along the front giving an awesome view of the bay. The glass in every window was smashed, and plants forced their way through, bursting like green explosions along the wall. Dodging the broken floorboards, They sprinted along the landing and came to a door hanging crooked from its hinges. Beyond was a narrow flight of stairs. "I think this goes to the tower," Ash said as they climbed. "I remember it." "Madre de Dios, it stinks," Isabel complained. Sorry if my Spanish pronunciation's not good there. "Imagine how I feel." The stench of decay was overpowering, and Ash put a hand over his mouth and nose, concentrating on pushing it away. The air stung his throat and lungs and made his eyes stream with tears, but he kept going until he came to the top and pushed through a door with a huge square room with a giant bed against the far wall. There were still sheets on the bed, but they were tattered and covered in a dense layer of film. One leg had been gnawed right through by animals, so the bed was at a crooked angle, and the floor around it was thick with droppings and trash collected by birds to build their nests. Three massive arched windows lined each side of the room. "Look!" Isabel ran to the window at the front of the building and pointed at the figures heading across the scrub toward them. "They're getting closer. But wait, they're still only halfway across. Why are they moving so slowly?" "Because of the howlers, maybe? Who cares? Just get away from the window and don't let them see you." Ash hurried to the opposite side of the room, but when he looked out at the sea, a sudden tidal wave of dreamlike memory crashed over him. He faltered under the weight of terrifying images, and he was suddenly a toddler again, pressed close to the open window with Pierce's hand on the back of his neck. So this is a flashback. This is what he's thinking. They have come up to the tower to watch the storm over the sea. Each time lightning flashes, the boy shudders. Thunder follows, drowning the sound of the waves crashing on the black beach. It is dark inside the tower, and Uncle Damien takes the boy to the window. A sudden spark of lightning gleams on the needle as it goes into his skin, and when it is over, Uncle Damien lifts him and holds him close to the open window so he can look down at the churning sea. "This is our secret," he says with a soft grin. "You can't tell anyone, not even your mother. If she finds out, I'll bring her up here and make her fly from this window. Do you think she can fly? Imagine what would happen if she couldn't. See how far it is to fall? You don't want that, do you?" When the scientist releases him, the boy looks up and his eyes fix on the badge on the scientist's jacket. The boy is old enough to know the letters on the logo, but too young to form the words, Biomessa. But instead of an O, there's a black sun with 8 points radiating from it. To the boy, though, it doesn't look like a sun. To him, it's a spider. Now what? Ash shook the memory away. What now? Isabel looked at the wire Ash had taken from the railings by the cliff. He had gathered a length of it and had twisted it into a coil that he now held in his right hand. "Is that for what I think?" she said. "Yes, it is." Inside, he was a wreck, but he tried to sound brave. He was overwhelmed by memories of what had happened here and petrified by what he was going to do next. But he really couldn't see any other way. Other than surrender, this was the only choice they had.